Okay, we are live. I hope everyone hears me loud and clear. And I hope everyone had or is having a good weekend so far. Shout out to everyone that's been waiting and leaving comments in the live chat. King Alfred, what's up? What's up, Eddie Morales? Hope everyone make sure smash that like button as soon as you come in. If you can, smash the like button. That's the best way to support the channel. Also, I want to thank whoever sent any donations through PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App throughout the week. All right. I appreciate the support of the channel. All right. This is going to be a quick live today. I'm not going to be on long. I got some family in town and I want to go out and step out and have some brunch. So I won't be on long. Just want to cover these two topics. I want to cover this fight from last night, which I watched this morning between Makabu and Mchunu. And also want to speak on Keith Thurman against Mario Barrios, which is this Saturday, this weekend on PBC Showtime. I believe it's going to be on Showtime. I'm not sure. I'll check. But it's going to be this weekend. And I just want to go over the fight and the undercard and just a little bit because I'm not going to do a breakdown yet. Got to do the film study. Probably have the breakdown out by tomorrow or Tuesday morning. The absolute latest. Charles Edward Cheese. Thank you, my brother. Thank you again. Appreciate the support. Super donation. Appreciate it every single time you do it. Thank you very much, man, for the support, man. Yeah, so I just want to go over the fight, go over some of the details of the fight, and then we could go on from there. But before we get started with that, I do want to I want to go over the fight from last night. All right, Charles, thank you again. I can't. This is crazy. Thank you a lot, man. I really appreciate it, man. But yeah, I want to go over the fight from last night, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts on the fight. I know a lot of people are saying that last night's decision was a robbery, and I kind of want to go over it because I watched the fight this morning, and as I'm watching it, you know, I think the fight could have gone either way, and I say that because it's one of those fights I knew within the first 2 or 3 rounds that and obviously I know the outcome of it. I already know the reaction of everybody from it, but it's one of those fights that is really based on what you like, you know. Personally, I think the first fight between Makabu and Mchunu was way better. All right, I think the pacing was better. Macabu won the first time, was able to get the stoppage late in the fight in the 11th round. And I think it was just a better action fight. I think there was more killer instinct between the both of them in the first fight. I mean, this fight was like 5-6 years ago. So this fight it wasn't a good fight in my opinion, you know, because there was no sense of urgency between either one of them. You had Mchunu, who was the better boxer. He's definitely much more technically sound than Macabu. Better defense, more accuracy in his shots, better balance, better counterpunching ability, just his timing. Everything was like, as far as boxing technique, he was the better boxer between the two, without a doubt. Macabu is a slightly bigger guy that threw more punches. Okay. Basically, he was just he's more of the aggressor. Now, as far as ring generalship goes, you can go either way because Mchunu was fighting the fight he wanted to fight. You know, he was waiting and he was the one pop shotting. He looked very comfortable, even though he was getting much more punches thrown at him. He looked more comfortable because it looked like he was fighting a fight that he wanted to fight. And then you have Macabu in there who was being the aggressor for the most part. I think in the championship rounds, he slowed down a bit. It was not like the Macabu we saw in the first fight between them. In this fight here, he slowed down in the championship rounds. So this is why I think it's kind of debatable, but it's really based on what you want. Me personally, the way I scored it, I scored the first and the last round as a draw, and then I had a 5-5 for each one of them, you know, and it's a lot of swing rounds in there. I scored it as a draw. Again, first round, draw. Last round, draw. You know, the last round, neither one of them really went for it. They both played it safe. They both gave it up to the judges. Makabu is the champion here. So if you want to base on a fight based on beating the champion, I didn't feel like Mchunu really beat the champion. You know, I just wasn't. I wasn't impressed with the performance from neither one of them. You know, one thing about Macabu, I don't know how many southpaws he has like in his resume. I didn't even get the time to check. Well, one thing about him is he has extreme balance issues. Like if you just watch his feet a little bit, foot positioning is missing. It's not there. Mchunu would stay off the line and stay a lot like towards Makabu's left. And Macabu was always trying to throw left, like straight lefts or left crosses over to him, but he will constantly have to turn. And, you know, Mchunu will step in, give him like a little shoulder bump or a little shove, and Macabu will always lose his balance. There was a lot of shots that Mchunu did not land, but it looked like he landed a shot because the way that Macabu would constantly fall back. All right. So I think Macabu got to really work on his balance issues because he was just, he looked really sloppy, you know, just look at his feet. He was always like getting ready to tip over. It always looked like he was about to fall. It just wasn't a good performance. And especially if you're trying to sell yourself and market yourself going into a possible Canelo showdown, because we don't know who Canelo is going to face, you know, and this is why I said on the very last video that I did, I said, yo, I don't think it's a bad fight between Canelo and Macabu because it's a legacy fight as far as winning a title, potentially winning a title in another division. So as far as that, I understand the fight, you know, because now you're going to be five division world champion. So I get that. What's up, High Tech? I'm living good. Everything is good. So as far as getting another title in another division, it makes sense. But as far as the matchup, outside of size, Macabu doesn't have much there. And size is a big deal because they have weight classes, weight divisions for a reason. So size is definitely a factor, but I don't see like Macabu being like a Roy Jones, Quiet Man Ruiz situation. You know, I don't look at Macabu as being like that good of a fighter. I think he's good, but pound for pound, as far as champions, pound for pound, through boxing, he's not at that elite level or close to it. He's more on the weaker side as far as the champions are concerned, in my opinion. And it's I'm not trying to diss him. I'm just keeping it real. Like skill set wise, I don't think he's one of the elites or even close. I think he's maybe below average as far as world champion or world title holders that we currently have. And for Canelo, based on who he's fought as far as skills, Macabu is more on a lower end as far as title holders that Canelo has faced up to this point. You know, as far as skills, I don't see him being on a level as an Austin Trout or a Miguel Cotto or Arislandi, Lara Gennady Golovkin. You know, I think I see him more on a lower end as far as title holders that Canelo actually face. You know, even a Sergey Kovalev, who was coming off a huge battle against Anthony Yard, and he had agreed to a rehydration clause. I still see that fight as a more dangerous fight for Canelo at that time. You know, this is more, it's a size thing. You know, can Canelo deal with Macabu's size and his power? He's fighting a much bigger man. This would be the biggest man he's faced. But as far as skills, as far as talent, I don't really see Canelo having much trouble with him. Again, I think the fight was a draw. You know, I really don't think the robbery thing is unwarranted. I don't think it was a robbery at all. I think because Makabu is potentially fighting Canelo next. People are looking like this. They're watching the fight real close because this could be Canelo's next opponent, and he needs to show up. And he really didn't show up. He didn't show up last night. Especially against a guy who he previously beat and stopped at one point. He didn't look good. He gassed out. Personally, I know I scored the fight a draw, but Mchunu, I gave him the majority of the later rounds, right? I think the last round that I actually gave Macabu to was the 8th round. I think the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, I gave to Mchunu. And then I think the 12th round I scored it a draw. All right, thanks. That's the way I have it. Shout out to everyone's here. I do want to check your comments and see how you feel about that. Again, shout out. Make sure you guys all hit that like button. What up, everyone? Everyone saying what up? What's up? What's up? A Thurman pay-per-view. I'll get to the Thurman fight in a minute. Olaf the Mighty says that Macabu fight was awful. He really is terrible and has really, really bad balance. Yeah, you're saying what's on my mind. As I'm watching a fight, I'm cringing. I'm sitting here like, oh my God, this guy is looking like he's about to tip over every single time he throws a punch. And for a fighter to be on that level, a title level, who he's fought good fighters like a top cruiserweight, I'm surprised that his balance is still that poor. And I think a lot of it has to do with him fighting a southpaw, because he's fighting a southpaw. It looks like he's fighting a southpaw, like the way he's throwing the punches the same way as if he was fighting an orthodox fighter. And being that Mchunu was a guy that stayed off the line, stayed to his left, and was out of danger, Macabu was throwing left crosses, and his feet are like he's throwing the punches past his lead foot, which should be more outside, and it kept him off. Every time he threw the punch, he's throwing it and he's just losing his balance. It just looked awkward watching him fight that way. Doing it a couple of times is one thing, but it was the same thing throughout the fight. I haven't seen someone on that level, on a title holder level, have that poor a balance in a long time. Terrible balance. And it wasn't a good fight to me from neither. I think both of them, especially Mchunu, especially with him, because he seemed to have the better game plan between the two. He seemed to be the more accurate boxer. He landed the punches that he wanted. He was able to read Macabu's punches as they were coming towards him. So I expected more. The dude just didn't let his hands go. And this is why I say it's not a robbery, because this guy was not. Listen, you got the idea, but you're not letting your hands go. You got to let your fists fly. You can't just sit there and be defensive, and land these little short shots here and there, because at the end of the day, Macabu is landing jabs throughout the fight. He's landing body shots throughout the fight. All right. Now, he wasn't landing the huge power shots to the head like the way Mchunu was landing. But, you still got to let your hands fly. You're not letting your hands fly. And this is part of the reason why you lost the fight. Everyone's screaming robbery. I think they're going a little too far with it. If you think Mchunu won, that's cool. I had it a draw. And I think the fight was very debatable based on what you like. But screaming robbery, we've seen robberies. We've seen real robberies. This is not a robbery, I wouldn't call it a robbery. This is a stylist. It's based on whatever you like in this fight. The person, you could go either way with this one. All right. Is Thurman versus Barrios for Spence mandatory? No. It was explained later that this is not a final eliminator. This is a title eliminator. There is a difference. A final eliminator means whoever wins that final fight will be the mandatory right there on the spot immediately. This one here, it's one of a mandatory. There's going to be another fight in order to make an actual mandatory when it comes to the which is this? Is this the is this the IBF or the WBC? I believe this is for the WBC. I can't remember. I think it's for the WBC. I could be wrong, but I know it's not a final eliminator. It's a title eliminator, right? I'll get more into that in a minute. What's up, Awoken? What's good? Everything is good, man. Olaf says I could see Oakley or Okoli or Breeders getting rid of Makabu in the first round. I wouldn't say first round, but I would say I think both would stop him. All right, so I think they both would stop him. Yeah, I'm growing this beard. I actually trimmed it recently. It was getting a little too crazy, but trying to keep it neat. Yeah, that New York weather, the weather is crazy. It's snow out here. We got hit. Listen, I was gonna say that too, man. I hope everyone is okay as far as whoever got hit with this storm out here on the East Coast. New York City didn't get it too bad. I think they just did a terrible job with clearing the roads. But I think if you live in Long Island, if you live in like Massachusetts, I think if you live out in Connecticut, you probably got hit a lot more than we did here in the city. The city, we got hit, but I think a lot of it is due to the poor, street cleaning and stuff. Low Cham, thank you for the donation, man. I appreciate it. They had his age as not available, like he was a man, a Mortal Kombat character. I saw that and I laughed because his age is online. I think it's on BoxRec. I think it's everywhere else. I've seen his age displayed before. So I thought that was kind of funny. It's funny you brought that out because I laughed at the same thing. Also, as far as that fight, and then we'll get off it. I hated the commentary, man. I thought the commentary was, I don't know if they had something against Macabu, but I think that the commentary might have had some influence on the viewers. I mean, because it was so one-sided, and I hate when the commentary is so one-sided because they're not giving Macabu, they're not giving him credit for anything that he lands. Anytime Mchunu landed a shot, and again, I agree that he landed a better, more accurate, more crisper shot. I'm not disagreeing with that. But it wasn't often. There was periods of each round where Mchunu wouldn't throw anything. He would just stand there and he was waiting for the best shot. Like, remember the 5th round? Remember when Mchunu landed that big left hook, right? That was one of the best shots that was landed throughout the entire fight. But if you look at everything outside of that, one big shot, I felt like Macabu was landing more shots. He was landing jabs. He was landing body shots. And the commentary wouldn't pick up on it at all. In fact, there was another issue, and I think it was Ray Boom Boom Mancini that was doing the commentary, right? No diss to him. Legend. I'm not trying to overstep him as far as boxing knowledge because I don't got it compared to him, any experience. But I'm watching it and I'm listening to him talk. And for him to be doing commentary for a fight and never viewed the first fight, he said that in some point in this fight. I think that's a big deal. If you're going to do commentary on the fight, you should have some history on the fighters, and you should at least at bare minimum view the first fight between the two. Because now when you're watching it and when I'm watching it, we have two different perspectives because I knew how the first fight went, So if I didn't go live last night, all right, I didn't go live, but if I did, I would be giving commentary based on the differences between the two, from the first fight and the second fight. I would be comparing the two. For you to be doing a commentary on a fight and you say he was clearly unfamiliar with both of these fighters. All right. I think like you should have a little bit of study in there to know what's going on. You're just saying, well, Macabu knocked him out the first fight, but you don't know how it happened. And when you don't know how it happened, it's like you don't know how the story went. It could have been an early stoppage. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how the fight went. So I don't think that is good to do commentary and not know much about the fighter, because the first fight was a completely different fight. If you've seen it, Mchunu was, yes, outboxing Macabu, but Macabu finished stronger, where in this fight, he finished much weaker, in my opinion. He looked tired. He looked gassed out. Mchunu did much better in this fight than he did in the first fight. All right. So anyway, I think I made all my points when it came to that. Shout out to everyone that's here. Definitely smash that like button. Olaf says Makabu is basically the Rocky Fielding of the cruiser. Damn. I mean, I mean, I don't even want to say, you know, I would probably give Makabu the edge, but I see where you're going with it. You know, Rocky Fielding is not a bad fighter, but when it comes to the elite fighters at 168, he really wasn't that good. You know what I'm saying? We saw what happened when Callum Smith went in there and blew him out. We saw what happened when Canelo went in there and blew him out as Canelo was moving up. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, though. High Tech says, I don't mind the Macabu fight. Canelo just came off a legacy year and he's getting a tune up for a title. I wouldn't call it a tune up though. Even though I'm clearly in favor of Canelo, I wouldn't call it a tune up just based on his size, because the size is a factor and it's a huge factor when there's a gap. And so he's fighting a much bigger man who's much more durable than the fighters that you face. But as far as talent, it's just different levels, you know. It's just different levels. It's way different. It's not even close, you know. KB says it's a legacy fight, but his haters that don't even support or buy Canelo fights want him to fight whoever they want, or else it's trash. It's boxing fans, man. It's not even just Canelo haters. It's just boxing fans are the most disgruntled fans on the planet. Period. Like, as far as sports, boxing got it clearly. It's not even close, because I follow other sports, and other sports, it's different, man. Boxing fans are hardcore. You know, Wizard says, has Fury told the truth yet? Fury says whatever to sell the fights. He's a marketing genius. That's how I always say. I don't take the word of Tyson Fury ever. Woken One is sad that Plant and Canelo not having a region. Then again, Plant probably got enough of Canelo the first time around. I don't think there needs to be a rematch, you know? I don't think there really needs to be a rematch, in my opinion. I mean, I don't want to see a rematch. I think the fight was more competitive than what people give Plant credit for, but I don't think there should be a rematch. Wizard says Josh Taylor beats every lightweight without breaking a sweat. Lightweight? Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. All right. All right. So let's move on to Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios is going to fight this week, this Saturday. And I mean, smash that like button too, by the way, if you're here and you haven't yet already. When I heard about the fight, I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't happy at all. You know, I'm not even going to say that I'm happy for it. I'm glad that Keith Thurman is back in the ring. So that's what I am happy for. Listening to his interviews, I just hope he's healthy, you know, because it's time, you know. It's his fourth quarter of his career. You know, he's taken a lot of years, time off over the years. He's been extremely inactive. And surprisingly, he only has one loss on his resume with all the inactivity, all of the injuries. But I'm glad to see him back. I'm kind of disappointed in the opponent, but I think I'm more disappointed at the fact that he's not fighting an actual welterweight. You know, when he came back and fought Josecito Lopez, I really didn't care for it like that, but it was more understandable because Lopez has been around. He's been in there with many of the best, Victor Ortiz, Canelo Alvarez, Andre Berto. He's given us so many good fights. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different where Mario Barrios really didn't even prove himself completely as a light welterweight. You know, he's totally he was not involved in the tournament a couple years ago, which was won by Josh Taylor. He didn't fight any of the top guys at junior welterweight at 140. And his first loss was to a lightweight, You know what I'm saying? So who's never fought at 140 before. And he was stopped in that fight. He was dropped several times in that fight. So for Keith to test himself against that guy, I'm kind of disappointed overall. And I know he's coming back. I know he's been inactive for over two and a half years now. All right. So I get that. I felt like it shouldn't be Mario Barrios. Now, Mario Barrios is based on, as far as what I've seen from him, he's a very good boxer. He's very sharp. He has great counters. He moves extremely well. All right. He has good hand speed. He's young. He's still fresh, even though he's coming off of the loss himself. He's still a very good boxer. Like, I respect him as a boxer. I just haven't seen what he can really do. You know, I seen him against Tank. I seen him lost, but he did well against Tank. He just couldn't take the power from a lightweight who moved up to fight him. All right. Whenever he really got hit, I seen him get hit and get dropped up top. I've seen him get hit to the body and dropped by a body shot. Keith Thurman is a powerful welterweight, you know. At the very elite level, he didn't stop his opponents though. But leading up to those top fights, like the Porter fights and the Danny Garcia fights, he was stopping the majority of his guys, if not dropping them. You know, Leonard Bundu, he didn't stop him, but he dropped them, right? Josecito Lopez, he didn't stop him, but he dropped him. Like, he has power, he's flashy, he's explosive, and he can box well, he can move well. I think the biggest weakness of Keith Thurman is I think he can make more use of his jab. You know, he often leads with power shots. I thought he could have always done better with his jab. Also, he seems to be weak to the body. All right, very weak to the body. And we've seen him get hurt so many times. I mean, he's been rocked by some guys like Soto Carras. He's been rocked up top too, but those body shots is what really does it to him every single time. And Mario Barrios is definitely a fighter that goes to the body when the opportunity is there. I think Mario Barrios is a good counter puncher as well. He does, you know, he has a good right hand. He times it well, especially guys that throw the jab. He knows how to take that jab away. He knows how to pivot and step around his opponents. He's slick, you know, he does have some slickness. It's just one thing with Barrios is he's not a bigger junior welterweight. He's not a big guy. Yes, he's tall and he has a good reach. He has those advantages even over Keith Thurman, but I think he's going to need a little bit more than that. And again, he's coming off of his biggest challenge, which is a southpaw. I was watching a little bit of the Cowboy Carl fight, and I'm like, this guy, he fighting Carl. Carl is just a guy that's just coming straight in. Very easy to time, very easy to step around. He's coming straight in. You know, it's easy to pivot around and count and time and counter those type of guys. You know, Keith Thurman is a different beast. He's not as predictable. You know what I'm saying? Keith Thurman got good angles. He has a shot. He has a punch. And my favorite Keith Thurman punch, and he doesn't throw it much. But it's kind of like it's like, it's not an up jab. It's like a variant of an up jab plus what's the Razor Ruddock punch that he throws? I can't think of the name of it right now. Let me look it up real quick. Smash. It's like a sort of like a variant of the smash punch and like a up jab, but there's a lot of power behind it. And those are the shots that like Keith Thurman will throw while on the move that have a lot of project jab. Yeah, the smash. He does it, and no one really talks about it, but I've seen him do it like against Julio Diaz. I've seen it's like, yes, Brittany says it's like an upward forward uppercut, but it's like an upward, it's like the way he throws it, you wouldn't expect it because it looks like something that can loop and go to the body, but then he shoots it straight up. So it's similar to the smash, not exactly like the way Donovan Ruddick drew it, and it's not exactly like an up jab, you know. So it is like an uppercut, but he's throwing it straight up. Pretty good shot. One of the punches that I love that Keith Thurman throws. You might only see it a couple times in a fight. But Keith Thurman has a large arsenal. Again, I think he should do better with the setups. Also, I don't think Keith is great at walking his opponents down. All right. He did it against Pacquiao. It's a good adjustment to make, but I don't think he's that good at doing it because he leaves his body completely exposed. He doesn't move his upper body and his head much while he's doing it. He kind of comes straight in. And when he was doing that with Manny was able to punch through the guard at times, get him to the body, hurt him bad. I think Keith, as good as he is, he still has like certain weaknesses in there. Again, I want to take some time. Hopefully, if not by tomorrow, probably by Tuesday, I want to have a video of a breakdown out. But I just want to get some time because I'm basing everything off the top of the head right now. And plus, I want to watch a little bit more Mario Barrios because I don't feel like I watched him fight 2 southpaws and I seen him fight 1 orthodox fighter. So I want to get a little bit more film study before I do a real thorough breakdown. But I guess it's a good fight if we don't know where Keith Thurman is, but it's a very dangerous fight because if Keith is if he and people, a lot of people think Keith is going to lose this. Okay, if Keith Thurman loses this fight, this could be devastating. You know, this is not like the Joshua and Usyk rematch where Joshua is possibly fighting one of the best fighters in the world. You know, he's fighting a guy that's coming off a loss like him, coming off of a stoppage loss against a lightweight, you know, and he's inactive too because he hasn't been in the ring since that loss. You know, not as inactive as Keith Thurman, but he's fighting someone who isn't even proven yet. Keith is a former unified champion. You know, Keith has fought the best in his division. So I think this loss, losing to Pacquiao at 40, and then coming back, and, you know, apparently he's healthy. If Keith loses or if he gets stopped, I think it's over. You know, especially if he gets stopped, I think it's over. You know, and I think if he loses, I think if he continues fighting, because he says he wants to be active this year, you know, a lot of fighters, I heard that from Gary Russell. You know, I don't like when I hear a fighter that kind of let their best years go by without being that active and want to wait until like the very end, towards the end, and now they want to be very active. Again, Keith is a little different because he had injuries, you know. But Keith always said, and Keith said in this interview, one of the interviews he did recently, he didn't stay fit in between fights. He's going to want to do it now, and I think if he does it, I think Keith shouldn't even be going after Bud and Spence. I think if Keith is to win this one, I would like to see Keith just get back on the next card. You know, get on another card right away. Jump on a card right away. Like, if you beat Barrios, especially if you look impressive doing it, get right back in there. Jump on a card and do another one in the next 3 months. You know, at the most, get back on there. You know, because be active, get yourself back in order, and keep yourself fit and in shape in between the fights. All right, but if he loses this one, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. Let me read a few comments real quick. Camp says, I'm surprised he hasn't been dropped to the body because his body language screams he's hurt. Yeah, and he doesn't know how to tie up. Yo, he's way too experienced for a guy that gets hit to the body and runs. Stop running. Tie up. Lock your opponent in so they don't land more. He wants to run. did it with Pacquiao, Louis Collazo. These guys know that you're weak to the body. You got to learn to tie up, bro. Like, it's not embarrassing to tie up. It's okay. Like, you got to tie up. If you're hurt, tie up. We know when you're hurt. Tie up. Don't leave yourself open and get exposed, because these other guys, they're going to come after you. They're going to take you. They're going to turn your body to shreds. They're going to rip you to shreds. You got to tie up. All right. Cam says, BoxingWave, who do you have for the Chiefs or the Bengals? I don't even know, bro. I don't even know. I'm not even going to get into football talk today. All right. K Alfred says Barrios is in there just to get KO'd and set Thurman up for a Spence fight, in my opinion. And you might be right. You might be right. And Keith Thurman should get a KO. There's a lot of pressure on Keith Thurman because you're coming off of a Tank Davis knockout. All right. Either way, I think this raises Tank's stock. You know, unless Keith Thurman is to go in there and blow him away in one round, you know, this raises Tank's stock, especially if it goes to distance, you know. What else? Eddie says he got one time. Me too. Project Jack said it could be a similar situation like Gary Russell. It could be. It could be. All right. But according to Keith, he feels good. I mean, he looks good. You know, I've been watching his videos. He looks good. He looks in good shape. You know, he looks good. All right. So anyway, Cam, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Flo Jab says this has a Pac-Man retirement fight feeling. Oh, listen, if Keith Thurman loses again, I think it would be a retirement. I think it would be a retirement. All right. Now, as far as everything else, it being a pay-per-view. Again, I don't support this being a pay-per-view, especially priced at the way it is. I mean, this is a tune-up fight. This is a tune-up fight for someone that hasn't been in the ring for 2.5 years. You know? Now, I know Keith Thurman has been involved in pay-per-views. All right? I know Barrios just was involved in one. All right? The fight wasn't a pay-per-view before for Mario Barrios. And as far as Keith Thurman, he was not in the A side in that fight, and he lost. They both lost. That doesn't mean it's automatic pay-per-view, but if the PBC is going to make everything a pay-per-view, which they are now, I'm not surprised at this being a pay-per-view. $75 is what I'm surprised at. You know, Luis Ortiz, Charles Martin recently was, I think, $39.99. And I didn't even think that should be $39.99. But I mean, at least they acknowledge the fact that it shouldn't be an expensive pay-per-view. You know, this one here, it's a little, you know, it's ridiculous. I think this is just a regular fight. There's nothing special about it. There's not one person on a planet that asked for this fight. Not saying it won't be a bad fight. I mean, it's going to be a bad fight because it may be a good fight. It may actually be a good fight, depending on where Keith Thurman is at today. We don't know. We won't know until after the fight. It may be a pretty good fight. All right. The undercard was actually a pretty good undercard, except for the fact that Josecito Lopez got injured. He was supposed to be fighting Abel Ramos, who was a welterweight that just, and including myself, I have to say, Abel Ramos don't get talked about enough in this division. He's a very credible welterweight. He's very, very good, you know, and I don't think we speak on him enough. But he was supposed to be fighting Josecito Lopez, and that would have been a great war. Like, that was a good fight. I was leaning towards Abel Ramos to win that, by the way. But Lopez got injured. So there's a replacement there for Abel Ramos. I'm not familiar with the guy. Seems like it's just a journeyman, you know, Lucas Santa Maria. I'm not familiar with him. But Abel Ramos is going to be fighting him. You have Leo Santa Cruz on his comeback fighting Keenan Carbajal, who I'm also not really familiar with. Okay? Not familiar. It seems like another journeyman. And then you have Luis Neri against Carlos Castro, which is actually a pretty good fight. That is a very good fight. All right? So that's probably the best undercard fight on there. But if you had Josecito Lopez fighting it actually was a pretty damn good undercard if Josecito Lopez didn't pull out. All right. You know, Leo just coming back. Leo's just getting, shaking off the cobwebs because he hasn't been in the ring since he got knocked out by Tank Davis. All right, in that devastating knockout. But Louis Neri against Carlos Castro is a great fight. Who else you have? I think you have Fernando Vargas Jr. on here. Yeah, he's on undercard. But as far as the fights that's actually going to be showed, they're not bad undercard fights though. All right, so I'll probably be here Saturday. I'll be here Saturday. I don't really like that it's a pay-per-view, but I gotta do my job and cover some fight. I haven't done live commentary in a minute, and it's been a while since I feel like it's been a while since I did a live commentary for a fight. I gotta be here, and I do understand that a lot of people are not supporting this fight. They're not paying for the fight. So if you want to listen to commentary for it, I'll be here Saturday to cover the fight. All right, I'll be here, and it should be a good time anyway. But I think the fights are actually going to be pretty good. All right, so I'll be here, and I am leaning towards Thurman. Definitely be on the lookout for a breakdown of the fight within the next day or two, and just looking to see Keith back in, man. And I'm looking for Keith to perform. All right, if Keith for this fight, there's no coming back and let's getting a survival win. No, this is one that you got to do your thing. You got to blow. You have anything other than you blowing away Mario Barrios is unacceptable to me, especially if we're comparing you and we're thinking about future spins or bud fights. You know, if he loses, I think we're gonna either get a retirement or Keith might still fight, but he's gonna just be food for the up and coming guys at that point. A counter Ben, who else is out there? A Virgil Ortiz, a Jerome Boots Ennis, and I don't even think Keith would be willing to do that because Keith, whether you love him or not, Keith, I love Keith, and the reason why I love Keith is because of who he was when he was coming up and the way he used to talk. But Keith has, over the last few years, he's come off to be just as calculated as everybody else. Once they get into position, even same with Spence, all of these guys, they become the same thing. Everybody talks about Mayweather, this and that. All of them become very calculated once they hit a certain stage in their career. It is what it is. They all do it. They're all hungry until they win or they're in a position to win a title. And then once they win it, that's what they become. All right. G-Man, thank you for the donation, man. All right, listen, I'm out. It's going to be a short one today, man. I hope everyone have a good Sunday. I have to run out. I'm going to go link up with some family. And I'll be back shortly with another video, another breakdown, and some more content. All right. But I got to get out of here. Have a good day. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash that like button if you can. Share the video. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.